Welcome back, friends. Today we are going to study about the helical gear, right? In the previous lecture, we had studied the introduction part of the helical gear, in which the different kind of advantages, different kind of geometry which have the difference with the spur gear, and the what is the teeth or which gear is important at which condition. So today we are going to study about the geometry or terminology of the helical gear. Also we are going to study about the force analysis, or which the different kind of forces which is acting on the helical gear, right? So let's start. First we are going to study about the geometry. Spur gear have the diametral and circular pitch. The helical gear geometry requires additional pitches like the helical rack, right? This is the top view of the rack, and also a view of the teeth which have on the rack, right? So here, so first of all, the teeth, this is the teeth, right? This is the teeth of the helical gear. These are the teeth of the helical gear, and these teeth are not going to parallel to the its axis of the shaft, right? This is the shaft, and this is the axis of shaft, and this is the teeth, right? These are both in different direction, so the teeth are not going to be parallel to the axis of the shaft, and the angle between teeth and shaft, axis of shaft, sorry, teeth and axis of the shaft is called as the helix angle, is called as helix angle psi, right? Now, so the distance between two consecutive teeth, the distance between two consecutive teeth is called as the pitch, is called as pitch. Now I am taking the normal to the normal on the teeth. Now I am going to take the normal distance. Normal distance between two consecutive teeth is called as the normal pitch. Is called as the normal pitch. Also the horizontal distance horizontal distance between two consecutive teeth is called as the additional pitch. It's a additional pitch, and the thickness of the teeth is a b, right? So there are number of different kind of parameters which are not included in this per gears. Also here, this angle, remember that the angle of the teeth on the rack, angle of the teeth on the rack is a alpha, and it's not a helix angle, but the helix angle is the angle of the teeth with the axis of the shaft, right? Angle of the teeth with the axis of the shaft is called as the helix angle. No. The transverse circular pitch or circular pitch is measured on a plane normal to the shaft axis, right? So the normal circular pitch is the distance between corresponding points of the adjacent teeth measured on a plane perpendicular to the helix, right? So the distance between two consecutive teeth is the circular pitch p, which are which is we are already taken in the spur gear, also in the helical gear. But if we are going to take the normal distance, if we are going to take the normal distance between two consecutive teeth, is called as the normal circular pitch, is called as the normal circular pitch, and which is taken in the bb plane. Now the axial pitch, or you can say the additional pitch, is the distance between the corresponding point of the adjacent teeth measured on a plane parallel to the axis of the shaft, or you can say the horizontal plane, right? So the distance between two consecutive teeth on the horizontal plane, or the plane which is parallel to the shaft axis, then the distance is taken measured as a axial pitch PA. For smooth transfer of a load, the face width of the helical gear B is usually made at least 20% longer than the axial pitch PA, which is measured in the parallel to the shaft axis, right? Now, cos side means the cosine of the helix angle is equal to Pn upon P. How? Because we are taking here the normal distance. We are taking here normal distance. So this is a 90-degree angle, right? This is a 90-degree angle, right? So the psi angle is this angle. This angle is the psi. Now this is the circular pitch and this is normal circular pitch. So if we are going to relate this both, then we have to take the closer side and the hypotenuse. This is the hypotenuse. So the relation between closer side and hypotenuse is a cosine, right? Cosine psi is equal to closer distance Pn divided by hypotenuse P. So cos psi is equal to Pn upon P. So we are going to take Pn is equal to P cos sine. Now diametral pitch per gear is the number of teeth per pitch circle diameter. This is the diametral pitch, right? And circular pitch is pi d upon number of teeth, right? So the number of teeth z divided by d, is the diametral pitch circle, right? So z upon d is the pi upon p, right? Circular pitch is equal to pi upon diametral pitch. So we can take the diametral pitch into circular pitch is equal to pi, right? This is equation, means pi is equal to circular pitch multiply with the diametral pitch. Now, so the normal and transverse diametral pitches are PP is equal to pi, means Pn into Pn is equal to pi also, right? So that's for Pn is equal to P cos psi. That's why P pi upon Pn is equal to pi upon P cos psi, right? So the normal module and transverse module are 1 upon mn is equal to 1 upon m cos psi. So we can get mn is equal to m cos psi, right? Which is defined as inverse of the diametral pitch. This is the inverse of the diametral pitch, right? Now, for the axial pitch PA, tan psi is equal to P upon PA. How this possible? So again we are going to this figure. This is the sine, right? Now we have this length PA. This is the PA, right? And this PA is the hypotenuse of this triangle. Hypotenuse of this triangle. This angle is the psi, right? This angle is a psi. Now, so this angle is must be 90 minus psi. This is the 90 minus psi. This is the 90-degree angle. So this angle should be a psi, right? This angle should be psi. Now the relation between Pn and this hypotenuse means the opposite side to the hypotenuse is the relation of the sine, right? Is the relation of sine. So we have to take a relation between hypotenuse to Pn, means Pa to Pn. So we can get the sine psi is equal to Pn upon Pa. Sine psi is equal to Pn upon Pa. But if we want to take a relation between circular pitch to axial pitch, if we want to take the relation between circular pitch and axial pitch, then we have to take this triangle, right? Now we have to take this triangle for the relation of axial, and circular pitch, right? For this triangle, this angle should be 90. This angle should be 90. This angle is a psi, right? And the hypotenuse is this. This side is called as the hypotenuse, and this is the closer side, and this is the opposite side. So the relation between opposite side and closer side is taken as tan psi, right? So tan psi is equal to P upon PA. So P upon PA is equal to upon PA is equal to tan psi. So PA is equal to P upon tan psi. So the relation between the normal pressure angle alpha n in the normal plane and the transverse pressure angle alpha is as per this relation. As per this relation, we can take the cos psi is equal to tan alpha n upon tan alpha, right? Gear D is related to the number of Z normal module and helix angle as P is equal to pi D upon Z. This is a circular pitch, right? Where D is equal to ZP upon pi, right? So Z upon capital P as the pi upon P is the capital P, right? So is equal to Z into M. 1 upon P is the small m. Why? Because the P is the inverse of the module of, right? So is equal to Z mn upon cos phi, right? So this is the generalized equation of the geometry of helical gear, right? So if you are going to ask a question or ask a problem related to the geometry of the helical gear, then you have to remember this equation. You can solve all kind of examples of the geometry of helical gears with this generalized equation, right? So the center distance between two mating gears is the center of the pitch circle, right? Or you can take the radius of the both radius of the pitch circle of the both gears as a center distance between the mating gears, right? So d1 by 2 plus d2 by 2 as z1 m1 by 2 cos psi plus z2 m1 upon 2 cos phi. So the center distance A is taken as mn z1 plus z2 divided by 2 cos psi. Now the virtual number of teeth in the helical gear. The virtual number of teeth for the helical gear may be defined as the number of teeth that can be generated on the surface of a cylinder having a radius equal to the radius of curvature at a point at the tip of the minor axis of the ellipse obtained by taking a section of gear in a normal plane, right? Means what is the virtual number of teeth for the helical gear? Suppose you have a cylinder, then the number of teeth that can be generated on the surface of the cylinder, what the cylinder you have, right? So you have to take a ellipse, you have to draw a ellipse having the length of minor axis, or the dimensions of the minor axis equal to the radius of the cylinder, right? The dimensions of the minor axis of an ellipse is equal to the radius of the cylinder. Then the number of teeth that can be generated on the cylinder, right? That can be generated on the cylinder having a radius equal to the radius of the equal minor axis, dimension of the minor axis of an ellipse, right? Can obtain by taking a section of a gear in a normal plane. Then the number of teeth which is generated is called as the virtual number of teeth for a helical gear. Now, the shape of the tooth in the normal plane is nearly the same as the shape of the spur gear tooth having a pitch radius equal to the radius of curvature r, right? And at point P of the ellipse, right? So the equation of the r dash means the curvature radius is a square upon b, which is the equation for the ellipse, The equation of an ellipse with its center at origin of the xy system with A and B as a semi-major and semi-minor axis. So the generalized equation to draw an ellipse is the x square upon a square plus y square upon b square is equal to 1. Also the formula for the radius of curvature is P is equal to in bracket 1 plus dy by dx square whole 3 by 2 divided by d square y by dx square. By those two equations and by putting x is equal to 0 and y is equal to b, we can get P is equal to a square upon B, which is generalized equation for the, or you can say which is the generalized equation for the slope of ellipse. Now the curvature radius, or you can say curvature slope of the ellipse, we can taken as, we had taken already taken as the r dash is equal to a square upon b. So a is equal to d upon 2 cos psi, semi major axis of the ellipse. But we have taken as b is equal to d by 2, which is the semi minor axis. So the equation can be taken as r dash is equal to d upon 2 cos square psi, as the putting the value in the equation, right? So the value of the a and value of b is going to be taken in the equation of r dash, so we can get r dash is equal to d upon 2 cos square psi. In the design of helical gear, an imaginary spur gear is considered in the plane AA with a pitch circle radius r and module mn. It is called as the virtual spur gear, right? So d dash is equal to 2r dash, right? Always the diameter is the double. So the equation is d upon cos square psi. But if we are taking imaginary spur gear in the plane of A, right? In this plane A, if we are going to take an imaginary spur gear, right? Then the pitch circle radius r and module mn, right? This is the r, which is the pitch circle radius, right? And mn is the module, right? If we are considering in a plane a, imaginary spur gear having a pitch circle radius as r and module mn, so it's called as the virtual spur gear, right? The number of teeth jet on the imaginary spur gear is called as the virtual number of teeth, right? So have you understand what we have to study of the virtual number of teeth? Virtual number of teeth is the number of teeth on the spur gear, which is imaginary taken on the helical gear of the plane A, right? So the number of teeth on the imaginary spur gear is called as the virtual number of teeth. So z dash is equal to 2 pi dash divided by pn is equal to 2 pi in bracket d by 2 cos square psi divided by pi mn, right? So the z dash is equal to d upon cos square psi divided by mn equal to d upon mn cos square psi, right? So z dash is equal to z mn upon cos psi, which is the value of diametral pitch, which is the value of diametral pitch. So the equation can be z dash is equal to z upon cos cube psi. The design of the helical gear is based on the virtual number of teeth, and z is the actual number of teeth, right? So whenever we are going to design the helical gear, is always based on the z dash, is always based on the z dash, which is the virtual number of teeth, and z, which is taken here, is the actual number of teeth on the helical gear. As a general guide, the tooth proportion should be based on the normal pressure angle of 20 degree. In helical gear, normal module Mn should be selected from the standard value, which is 1, 1.25, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6, 8, and 10. The standard proportion of the addendum and dedendum are the equations. For the addendum is Mn, dedendum is 1.25 Mn, and clearance should be taken as 0.25 Mn, which is tip and root clearance, which is tip and root clearance. So this equation should you should be remember for solving the addendum, dedendum, and clearance. The addendum circle diameter dA is given by dA is equal to d plus 2ha, right? Addendum circle diameter is taken as the diametral pitch circle plus 2ha is equal to zmn divided by cos psi plus 2m, right? So dA is equal to mn in bracket z upon cos psi plus 2 is the addendum circle diameter, right? This equation you should have to remember for the addendum circle diameter, and also you have to remember this equation for the dedendum circle diameter to solve the example having asking you the addendum circle diameter and dedendum circle diameter, right? So the for the dedendum circle diameter, df is taken as the d minus 2hf is equal to zmn upon cos psi minus 2.5 mn. which is df is equal to mn in bracket z upon cos psi minus 2.5, right? Now the leading edge of the tooth should be advanced ahead of the trailing edge by a distance greater than the circular pitch, right? So the x, right, should be greater than or equal to pitch, right? So the x can be taken here, or you can take here onwards, right? But you can't take between these 2 points. You can't take between these 2 points, because if you are going to take between these points, then the x, the value of x, right, is going to less than the pitch. From the triangle of A1, A2 and C, you can take a psi, tan psi, which is the angular here. So tan psi is equal to A2C upon A1C, which is x upon B. So x is equal to B tan psi. Now the x is greater than or equal to P. So here put the value of x is equal to B tan psi in this equation. So we can get B tan psi greater than or equal to P. Or you can say the B always greater than or equal to P upon tan psi, right? So P upon tan psi, where the value of the circular pitch is radial pitch circle is the pi m and pi mm, right? M is the pi mm divided by cos psi. The multiplication of the tan psi into cos psi is equal to sin psi, right? Therefore, the value of B should be greater than or equal to pi mn upon sin psi. This is the minimum phase width. Many authorities recommended that phase width be at least twice the axial pitch to obtain true helical gear action, right? So uh, we have to take normally twice the axial pitch whenever we are going to design the helical. Now the force analysis which are acting on the helical gear. So we are going to take the force analysis. The force, the actual force which is acting on the helical gear is here, right? In this direction. Now we have to take two two component. We have to take two component of the force which is acting on the tip, right? One is the radial force Fr, and one is the tangential force is the Ft. One is the tangential component, right? So there are two components, one is the Ft and one is the Fr. Now this angle is the psi, right, which is the helix angle, which is the helix angle. Alpha n and alpha, the both angle are given. Fa, which is the axial force, right? Ft, tangential force. F is the actual force, and Fr is the radial force acting on the helical gear tip, right? So Fr is equal to F sin alpha, right? Fr is taken as the F sin alpha, whereas the BC is taken as F cos alpha n. Also, if we are going to take the Ft, if we are going to take Ft, then Ft is the F cos psi, right? Ft is going to taken as F cos sine of, sorry, BC cos sine. We are going to take the, if you are going to take Ft, suppose here the Ft is taken, right? Ft equal to, now the Ft is the component of the F, right? Ft is the component of the F, means the tangential component of the F, but the no direct angle between the Ft and F is given. No direct angle of the Ft and F is given, so we can't convert the F into the direct Ft. So we have to take the Ft is equal to BC cos sine, right? FT is equal to BC cos sine. Why? Because the angle between BC and FT is given, which is a sine. So FT is the BC cos sine, and BC is taken as F cos alpha n. So FT is converted, FT and relation between FT and F is taken as FT is equal to, we have to put the value of BC here, right? So the value relation of the FT and F is equal to, FT is equal to F cos sine alpha n into cos sine, right? From the triangle BDC, the FA, the triangle BDC, the FA, right, is equal to BC sine phi. How? Because this is the same angle, right? So we can take the BD is equal to FA, BD is equal to FA, we can take. So this angle is this sine, and this is a perpendicular 90-degree angle. So this is the hypotenuse, right? So we can take the FA is equal to BC sine psi, and BC, the value of BC is the F cos alpha n, as we discussed previous slide. So the FA is equal to F cos alpha n into sine psi. FT is equal to BC cos sine, right? So the value of FT is F cos alpha n into cos psi. Already we discussed that, right? Dividing FA and FT, we can get FA divided by FT is equal to F cos alpha n sine psi divided by F cos alpha n into cos psi. So we can get cos alpha n and cos alpha n cancel. Also F cancel. So the value remaining is tan psi. So FA is equal to FT into tan psi, right? So dividing FR and FT, dividing FR and FT, we can get the FF cancel, right? Now sine alpha n divided by cos alpha n is the tan alpha n divided by cos psi. So the value of FR is equal to FT into tan alpha n divided by cos psi. From the triangle EDC, right, we can get the tan alpha is equal to FR upon FT. From the tan alpha, we can get the FR upon FT. How? Because this FR is taken as at the ED. So this is the FR, right? FT is here, the angle of alpha is here, this is the angle alpha, right? So the tan alpha is equal to opposite side FR divided by FT. So tan alpha is equal to FR upon FT, and tan alpha n is here, right? This is also FR, right? This is also the value of FR, right? So tan alpha n is equal to FR upon BC. So BC is equal to FT upon cos phi, right? So tan alpha n is equal to FR cos psi divided by FT. FR cos psi divided by FT. So the tan alpha is equal to, we can put the value of FR upon FT is tan alpha. So tan alpha n is equal to tan alpha into cos psi. So cos psi is equal to, we can put the value of tan alpha n divided by tan alpha, right? Now the tangential component is calculated from the relation Ft is equal to mt upon d by 2, where the mt is transmitted torque and d is the pitch circle diameter. The following information is required in order to decide the direction of three component. First information which is required is what is the driving element, which drive and which is the driven element. We should know, we should have the information about the driving and driven element to derive or to decide which is the direction of all three components. Also, is the pinion rotating in clockwise or anti-clockwise? What is the hand of helix, and is it right-handed or left-handed? All these three information we should have to decide or derive the direction of all three component FT, FR and FA, right? So the thrust component FA axial load, the following guidelines can be used to determine the direction of the thrust component. First is the select the driving gear from the pair. Use right hand for the RH helix and left hand for the LH helix. Keep the fingers in the direction of rotation of the gear and the thumb will indicate the direction of the thrust component for the driving gear. The direction of the thrust component for the driven gear will be opposite to that for the driving gear, right? So this is the all this is all about the geometry and terminology of the helical gear. The importance of the geometry, importance of the load acting on the helical gear is uh, include in this lecture. We are going to study about the design of the helical gear in our next lecture and the safety and design procedure in our next lecture.